Hi, my name is Kate Steele, and I'm going to be presenting on what COVID-19 means for whitewater recreation management on an urban river, specifically the James River. So, a little bit about me. I'm a River Studies and Leadership candidate, and I'm going to be talking about my internship experience specifically and some of the themes that emerged from that experience. So, my work was at the Commonwealth University's Outdoor Adventure Program. I was the trips manager and a trip leader there. And I specifically did a lot of river-based trips and still do because I still work there. And I also work at RVA Paddle Sports as a raft guide and a kayak instructor, which is a whitewater outfitter in town. I'm on whitewater a lot, and I am very interested in whitewater, river recreation, and river recreation management, which is why I'm presenting this to you, because I thought this was really relevant to the symposium and river management as a whole. First, I want to touch on the James River in Richmond. The James River is an urban stretch of whitewater, which is very unique. It is one of two cities in the US that has truly urban whitewater that is very, very close to an urban center. This brings some unique qualities and challenges to river recreation and management. Specifically, the river is really easy to access from a lot of different places. So it's pretty difficult to regulate who gets on the river, what they're doing on the river, because there's just so many easy spots to get on for so many people in this urban area. And COVID-19 has impacted this challenge that already exists for urban whitewater. Specifically, in 2020, 2.1 million people used the James River Park system, which is a record-breaking number. This was on track with the growth that was already occurring for the park. However, when taken in context with COVID-19, this means that there were more people using the river specifically because of the way that COVID-19 changed how we recreate in the outdoors and how many people are choosing to recreate in the outdoors and specifically do different types of outdoor sports that they wouldn't normally do. So what speaks to that is shortages nationwide in outdoor recreation gear, specifically paddling gear like kayaks, boats, paddles, PFDs, helmets. There has been a shortage nationally and internationally in a lot of this gear because of the huge spike in demand that 2020 has brought. It's an easy way to recreate that is safe because you can distance while you're doing it. And that's part of why COVID-19 has brought new interest and new users to this river, this urban river, where there's whitewater and flat water to use. In addition, this can be seen in a program case studies. So specifically where I did my internship experience at VCU's Outdoor Adventure Program, we had a record number of seats filled for all of our trips, and we saw our river trips fill the fastest. In addition, RVA Paddle Sports has increased demand at their outfitter as well. However, it should be noted that trip sizes and the number of trips offered at both of these places was smaller to comply with COVID guidelines. So that does skew these numbers just a little bit. But again, increased interest and seats filled at both places. So what does all of that mean? Demand is growing due to COVID-19 and in general, it was already on track to grow. But due to COVID-19, there's a lot more people on the river, a lot more new people on the river, specifically on whitewater. However, the river has not changed and the risk is still there. Risk is inherently part of whitewater boating and whitewater use. And in some ways, the resources have decreased for people to get out and recreate safely on whitewater. Person-to-person interaction is key to learning whitewater and educating yourself, unfortunately, because you can't learn how to kayak virtually. So this presents a lot of problems for people trying to get into this sport. It's already hard to get into, but now if you want to learn from people, you have to risk potentially exposing yourself to people who may have COVID-19, whether it's by getting in a shuttle with them or just going paddling on the river with them. So more new people may be getting out by themselves or with limited knowledge because they don't want to talk to people who they don't know due to COVID-19's concerns. Along with some of that growth comes some consequences. So here I have the numbers from the Richmond Fire Department of the amount of river rescues that they did in 2019 and 2020. The two numbers are pretty similar, but when taken in context with some of the growth of whitewater use in 2020, I think it is important to note. I also wanted to touch on there are a lot of rescues and near misses that occur that never go through the fire department. Not necessarily because they're not around, but just because of the nature of whitewater. If there's boaters around you, they're going to help you out and rescue people who are in distress or who are struggling. So I've experienced this being out myself. I have helped people who have swam or been in a bad spot because I'm simply out there and I know what's going on. And that happens a lot. And again, that is normal despite COVID-19 and other times. But this is something that was occurring more and was actually talked about a lot in the river community in 2020 because it was growing so quickly with so many people that folks didn't really know. So this raises some questions for programs and for river managers. There are more people who want to get on whitewater, and they can do it really, really easily because of the accessibility, specifically of urban whitewater when we're talking about the James River. So how can both of these entities promote this sport that makes people really care about their rivers and want to be out on their rivers and advocate for their rivers, but keep those people safe and educated as much as they can? For programs, what I observed in my internship was making smaller trips, making local trips only, increasing the amount of kayak instruction to meet demand, and just training staff and getting staff out there so that they could in turn go out and educate their community and be empowered to help people out. However, some of these things were tough because of COVID-19. Training staff is difficult when the skills you need to train them in sometimes require not being distanced or not wearing a mask due to the nature of whitewater. Um, and in addition to kayak skill instruction faces the same issue where you have to be close to people sometimes and you can't wear a mask because you might be flipping over into the water. Um, as for managing the James, some of the strategies that there should be raised, the strategies that should be considered because of this issue are kind of like everywhere. However, the ones I included here I think are the most important. I think it's important to think about access and signage and education. So understanding that there are more people out there, assuming that there are going to be more people out there paddling specifically due to COVID-19, and putting out educational signs and making sure that people know what they're getting into. Again, this is difficult because of the access problem in urban whitewater. It's everywhere. So choosing popular spots. And permitting is another possibility, as well as possible fines or punishment, both of which have been tried before in Richmond and haven't really worked. But I think COVID-19's changes kind of might merit another look at that stuff, which all might require a higher budget for the James River Park system, which could be an issue. So I wanted to just touch on takeaways moving away from the James River. I think COVID-19's increased use of whitewater recreation that it has created can be used by river managers on any river that has whitewater features or whitewater recreation historically.